Normally, I do the research for a video the night before, get everything put together, and then go to sleep, sleep on it, get up the next morning, and then do the video. What I found tonight, I could not wait. This information in today's video will clearly show that the transponders were switched. We had alleged a couple videos ago that they could have been switched, or they could have been flipped from autonomous mode to assigned mode. Well, I've just found the information that blows the assigned mode argument out of the water. And also, what we found is that the transponder could not possibly have been the one actually assigned to the ACX crystal. Now, without any further ado, we're just going to go ahead and start here. Continuous wave whaler. This is a discussion of the differences between Class A and Class B transponders. Class A are for big commercial vessels and military vessels, and Class B are for small fishing vessels and pleasure craft. The big difference is power. Class A transmitters are 12.5 watt, Class B transmitters are 2 watt. The most important thing in this particular, and I'll just go real quick here if you want the link, there's the link. Okay. The most important thing in this that we're going to take away from it is this. Another factor is how often, speaking of the difference, how often the vessels transmit. A Class B vessel underway at less than 14 knots only transmits every 30 seconds. That's key. A Class B vessel underway at less than 14 knots only transmits every 30 seconds, while a Class A vessel at the same speed range transmits every 3.3 seconds if changing course and every 10 if on a steady course. This means the Class A vessel is transmitting something like 3 times to 10 times more often than the Class B. That's key, but those numbers are the key. Class B vessel underway at less than 14 knots transmits on the 32nd. Remember that. There's going to be a lot to remember in this video. All right. This is navcenuscg.gov talking about the requirements by law. And here, a Class AIS Class A device, the following vessels must have on board a properly installed operational USCG type approved AIS Class A device, a self-propelled vessel of 65 feet or more in length engaged in commercial service. Now, before anybody says, well, that's the U.S. requirements, these are the requirements for all countries for these vessels to be able to transit. These are absolutely, I couldn't find the Japanese ones that were in English, but trust me, they have the exact same regulations. All large vessels are not only required by law of the country that they're operating in to have these Class A transponders, but they're also required under something called SOLAS, S-O-L-A-S, and we're going to cover that here in a second. Now, just to give you an idea, this is what a Class B transponder looks like. Pardon me. People have them in their boats, and fishing vessels. They're not meant for big commercial vessels, but the biggest difference between these Class A's and, the Class B's here and the Class A's is the status. A dynamic Class A can transmit things like moored or underway or not under command. Class B's can't do that. And that's very key, and we're going to cover that here in a minute. Now, this last one, AIS technology for smaller, non-SOLAS vessels. SOLAS is the International Convention for the Safety of Life at Sea. 162 contracting states, including Japan. Section 5 of this covers safety. Part 10, Section 5. This is the most important part of the video, folks. Please pay attention here. Information from a shipborne AIS is transmitted continuously and automatically without any intervention or knowledge of the officer on watch. Any AIS shore station might require updated information from a specific ship by polling that ship, or alternatively, might wish to poll all ships within a defined sea area. However, key here, the shore station can only increase the ship's reporting rate but not decrease it. That is huge. And down here it shows that this is what you can get with a Class A. Navigational status. Okay? Class Bs do not have this. Class Bs only have these 5 things. Position, timestamp, course over ground, speed over ground, and heading. Class A's give you this. Now, what can we say from that? Well, when we look at the AIS reporting data, and these are the intervals, the only place, singular, you see a 5-second reporting rate is a Class B SO shipborne mobile equipment moving greater than 23 knots. What does that tell us in regard to the ACX Crystal? That during this entire track, when she was reporting on the 5-second, she was using a Class B transponder. Now, there was the possibility that it could have been the AIS base station that changed from the 5-second to the 10-second. But we just established that they can only increase the reporting rate, not decrease it. Going from 5 seconds to 10 seconds decreases the reporting rate. An AIS base station cannot do that. So, what does that tell us? It tells us that this entire line was the result of reporting from a Class B, and that here, at this moment in time, and here comes the lag. Every time I do this, it is the most insane thing. As we can see here, we see the 5-second changes. The 5-second changes. Now, jumping up to this point in the video, after the jump down here, what do we see? 10-second. And this is not result of the AIS base station. This is the result of a transponder switch. They didn't switch modes on the same transponder. They switched from a Class B to a Class A transponder. And I'm sorry about the blur there. Now, back to, because this is what we see. We have a 10-second reporting rate now. Okay? Class B, which 5 seconds only occurs in Class B, is search and rescue aircraft and AIS base station, and we've ruled out base station and we have ruled out search and rescue aircraft. The only other place we see 10 seconds is up here, a dynamic Class A 0 to 14 knots moves at 10 seconds. So clearly, after the return back trip of whatever ship that was, that's when they turned on their actual Class A transponder. Now, do you remember that thing I said about the Class B transponders only transmitting every 30 seconds way back at the beginning of the video? And I'll just go over it again here real quick. Class B vessel underway at less than 14 knots only transmits every 30 seconds. Well, when we go to the video, and she finally does her little thing up here, and remember, she's still on the 10-second now. Now she's using her Class A transponder. And we speed this up to 2x. Show you what happens. Remember this little backup maneuver? And then she takes off. All right, 1907, 47 seconds. Slowing this back down to a quarter speed. Here's what we see. 1747, 1747, 30 seconds. What's the speed? Let's see if we can get some... Well, there she's at 1 knot, 2 knot, 3 knots, 4 knots, 5 knots. Increasing speed. 0 to 14 knots. Now she's using her Class B again because it's reporting in 30-second intervals. So clearly, what we have is a transponder spoofing event. We have a transponder aboard a ship that's not the ACX Crystal, because the speeds are all wrong, the reporting rates are all wrong. There's no way it could have been the assigned Class A dynamic for the ACX Crystal. And just to show you something odd, well, I'll cover this first. Do you remember in the Savvy article here, where after it goes past that island, it changes its status to not under command? The only kind of transponder that can change that kind of a status is a dynamic Class A. Class B transponders can't do that. And Class A transponders can't report on the 5-second. So I think this pretty much shoots any kind of argument whatsoever out of the water, pardon the pun. But the last thing, talking about perhaps another ship or somebody messing with the identifications. I want to get this right here. This is the secnav.navy.mil. We've been here before. This is the preliminary report. And it says in here that the large merchant vessel was identified as HCX Crystal. Yeah, 0417. Large merchant identified as HCX Crystal, not ACX Crystal. And from another video, I also wanted to cover something else about the reporting of, or the calling of general quarters, that 1MC was working well past that time. And it was much, much later when 1MC finally went down. And it was very, very close to this. Stay with me here. And I had it here. What I'm talking about here is the damage control officer who was asleep in her quarters was the one that called general quarters at 1:43, and we have that here. 13 minutes is way too long a time for that to have gone by, for that to have happened. And some had made the argument that, well, you know, 1MC wasn't working, and that's actually not true. 1MC went down quite a long time later. And I had it here and I lost it. It's way past here, and I'll find it. I'll put it down in the description. I'll put the timestamp. But the 1MC, and I'm sure I probably just scrolled right by it, and somebody's going, it's right there, but I can't see it right now. But yeah, 1MC ceased to operate quite a ways after that. They had 1MC working all the way up to almost an hour later. And it's just beyond any reasonable belief that they could not have called general quarters immediately, especially from yesterday's video. So I just wanted to cover this and show folks clearly that based on the available evidence that we can show, and that the Navy would have, that this ship was clearly not operating within regulations. It was messing with its transponder. There's no way it could possibly have been an AIS base station issue. And there might have actually been a second little ship that would have had this little transponder aboard it. So anyway, I will leave it there. You folks have been great. I very much appreciate it. One more time, I've said this before, we're here to honor the memory of those sailors and to not let this lie stand, and to speak for those who can't speak. We're not going to let the channel devolve into a discussion of anti-Semitism or flat earth or the last Secretary of State we had or the last president we had or any of these other conspiracy theories. You're going to get deleted, you're going to get blocked. That's just the way it is. If it's relevant and pertinent to this discussion, we'll talk about it. But any of those other conspiracy theories you're getting from the make-believe non-existent deep state title of a book, I'm not going to even tolerate it. So you guys, for the most part, all of you guys are great, super supportive, very much appreciate it. But for those few bad actors that think this is going to be a forum to either spam 15 video links with no descriptions, that's not going to work either. So I will leave it there. Thank you very much. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you next time.